Mama, I got bad news, bad news. I've been rolling with some bad dudes, bad dudes. I've been trying to get a bag.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to the Ashes to Awesome podcast, Rising in Recovery. Our podcast provides light, hope, and understanding about addictions and mental health to people living within that life and the people who love them. Today's episode is brought to you by Yacha Treatment Centers in Phuket, Thailand. They are a clinic run by clinicians, not a business run by businessmen. And they know that where addiction is the smoke, trauma is the fire. Learn more at yatracenters.com. That's yatracenter.com. Hi, listeners. Welcome to the Ashes to Awesome podcast. I'm your host, Chuck LaFlange, and today I have a special guest with me, Amanda Stoller, who, well, has a hell of a story and some lived experience, and I can't wait to talk to her. So thank you for coming on the show, Amanda. How are you doing today?
Yeah, thanks, Chuck. No, I'm glad to be here, and I'm doing pretty good here in Alberta.
Yeah. Hey, bit of a scenery change for you. We were talking about pre-recording there, but I can only imagine. For myself, of course, if I went to go live in the mountains, I'd be pretty damn happy to be there. But but change is good. Change is good. So
change is good.
Yes. Like I just spoke to you, pre-recording. Recovery is great because you guys have all told your story 1,000 times, or we have all told our story 1,000 times. So why don't you just take us back to where the story begins for you and go from there?
Okay. Well, I'm a person in long-term recovery, so I'll just say that. Okay. I'm 54 years of age, and my name is Amanda Stoller, and I don't know, where it all began. That's always the first question, where did it all begin? And but I do know that at the age of 42, I was at the end of the road, and something happened where it was the last day I used. So with that saying, March 27th, 2011 was the last day that I put anything in my body. But before that, I can speak to the journey of where I got to in my life. And I was probably about 17 or 18 the first time I went to a detox. And so while
Actually, can I interrupt you with a question, if you don't mind? I do like to ask everybody, do you remember the first time you used?
I can remember the first time I used crack cocaine.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I think that was the pivoting point in my life.
And how old would you have been at that time?
17.
Okay, well, that's same with me, actually. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 17.
Do you remember how it made you feel?
Well, the thing about crack cocaine, I felt like I came to the land, I arrived. It was euphoric. Before that, I found self-seeking behaviors through sports or that attention-seeking. I think alcohol kind of watered me down a little bit, where it kind of, all those anxieties would be enough where I felt like I had that liquid courage.
Familiar story. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
and the reason that I asked that, Amanda, and I always like to ask this at the beginning of an interview, were you self-aware enough at the time to know why it was so great?
No, I was a young girl, easily influenced. That's what that is.
That's really where I'm always getting to with that line of questioning.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Were you self-aware enough at the time?
No, I'm 17 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm at the wrong place at the wrong time, and I'm easily influenced. And I think that's the journey or the road that I started leading down, that path of disappointments, and that path of wishful thinking, and that path of am I ever enough? And, I speak to certain things in my life, looking back as a woman, looking at a young girl that's easily influenced, what was really going on in her life at that time, to be somewhere where there was a crack cocaine pipe, So, and this is not about pointing fingers or, being a victim. This is just here we are. I tried something, and it definitely, it felt like it was a solution to everything I was looking for. But with that was the beginning of the end. And, being a young girl and being easily influenced and being very pretty, you get taken advantage of, and you put yourself in situations where, you start crossing the lines. And I think with addiction, that's what I say to myself. Like, addiction handed me a shovel and I just kept digging and digging and digging. And I think at the same time, being a young girl, whatever my choices were at that time, I was trying to get out of something. I was trying to get into something. I was trying to get away from something. And I was trying to move into a direction where I didn't want to look at anything that was behind me. And unfortunately, I guess with that, relationships started coming into my life too, where not only did the addiction handed me a shovel where I kept digging and digging, I also had a broken picker. So, and the men that I was choosing in my life at that time, whether it was like trying to have a family or I was getting pregnant or whatever that looks like, and then those disappointments come with that. You're leaving your children behind. You have a 6-month-old boy and you leave him behind. Actually, that 6-month-old boy is on the downtown east side right now. He's 34 years of age, grinding down there. And so it's just kind of like, not only do some of my decisions, at that time, the leaving your kids behind, now you start creating this, I don't know, you see how addiction is like that goes through the family, and I can speak to that too. I had moments when we were both in recovery, and anyways, his name is Terrence, and we're trying to find him in that shithole. And
okay, yeah.
So pathways, right, with kids and stuff. So, but yeah, anyhow, moving forward, and I'll speak more about Terrence and my kids and the relationships in my life and how there's full circle moments. And so here I am. I'm like 22 years of age, in and out of treatment for the first few years since I was 17, trying to figure this out, being too young to be in a detox, too young to get into treatment. And then next thing you know, I'm 19, I'm in treatment centers, and my mother was trying to, control the situation, whatever that looked like. Maybe her control was like sending me to treatment. I don't know. But, I think after so many setbacks, I was starting to not too sure where I was or where I fit in the world or where I stood, and the next thing you know, you find yourself doing things that you say you weren't going to do, and you start crossing the line, and next thing you know, your children are being born dependent, and next thing you know, you're in the sex trade, and you're doing sex work, and going down that road. And then, every now and then you get this surrender period and you end up in detox and thinking I'm going to do it this time. And I ended up in Kamloops, and I did. I got a few years of living a stable life and getting married and having 2 more children, Jeremy and Michael. And there was a period of my time where I was being a mom, and I was really enjoying it, and traveling with my husband and doing lots of different things, and also still untreated in many ways. But I don't know, I was about 32 and marrying a recovering addict, and I was a recovering addict, and there's no guarantees. And I was young, and Scott's mental health, and I didn't understand mental health at that time. I didn't know about what that looked like or how do you live with that. And there's a lot of things that were really unspoken that I can speak to now. But anyhow, Scott and I ended up once again leaving our kids behind, and so you get the grandparents picking up the pieces, and then you're so oblivious that I ended up going to prison for a few years, and then your whole life, that what you thought was going to be and have, and it becomes devastating for everyone, everyone involved. Everyone involved. So. But growing up in an alcoholic home and seeing the violence, and my mother being a single parent and having her own traumas and her own issues, and she did the best she could with what she had. She ended up getting married and quitting drinking herself and raising the kids, and who knows what that is for her. I can't speak for her. And, over the years, we've tried to, have a mother-daughter relationship. It's off, it's off, it's on, it's on. It's kind of like that with my kids, off and on over the years. And it's kind of like recovery is really interesting when it comes to family dynamics and some of those deep wounds and resentments and abandonments, and because you put drugs first before everything. And, when you start coming back into recovery, it's not like everybody's happy to see you. Everyone's pissed off,
Right,
It's
yeah.
like, oh, yay.
Right. Ryan and I just did an episode about that, about my spouse is my partner's in recovery, now what? Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? Your partner earned the right, you earned your mistrust, earned like all the shit feelings that you have right now, you're allowed to have them, and it's the same. We have to accept that as the people in recovery that we did some things and people aren't going to be happy about those things for a long time. And that's just the way it is, right?
And the kids are heartbroken, right? Like, where's your mom? And they have all these feelings, and they feel guilty probably for feeling some of the feelings they feel towards me. And however, and I'm feeling guilty, and, next thing you know, they're half the age that I left them at. But I don't know. It's been a pretty interesting ride, though. Like, because you don't know if you're going to get your kids back. And that was kind of like one of the first things that was told to me. Like, Amanda, like if you, if you want to pray for others, maybe pray for your kids and pray for their happiness and their well-being. And because like they may not come back in your life just because you got clean. And then also too, like if you, maybe live the life that you'd want for your kids. And so I really had to hone in on that, because like
I like that particular that moment that you want for your kids.
Yeah, because
that's powerful.
Yeah, because like here I am as a mother, and I want to get right with my relationships. I want to rebuild them. I want to restore them. I don't know what's been told to them. I don't know what's the truth, what's not the truth. There's all these lies. There's this dysfunction. I know what's gone on in my life, and I'm sure it's generational. So I'm kind of looking at the lay of the land. How do I not cause any more harm than what I've already done in my life to myself and others, and especially the family? And I did. I buckled down, and I started getting a life with or without. And I think that's where a chosen family comes in, a chosen community, starting getting well with other people, start seeing yourself through the eyes of those instead of your family, because how they see you is not necessarily ideal, right? You're just like, oh my goodness. But so through that pathway, I started digging deep, and I wanted to change the story. And I think that's where I stand today as a recovery advocate. I believe in recovery. Recovery's possible. It's a right. There isn't anything that I haven't done in my life that I haven't experienced. And, I know that sometimes, like harm reduction, I've worked in that field. I have also believe in recovery-oriented systems of care, including harm reduction. There's a place for it. However, when we start looking at the ideals as a mother wanting her son to be downtown on the east side, and his life is about getting in line for methadone, or getting in line for a soup kitchen, or getting in line for an OPS to go use safely. So if he does die, they can bring him back. That's not what I want for my son. I pound the pavement down there. And when I have found him, and when I have seen him, I want to remind him who he is as the amazing person that he is, and that he's a good kid, and he's worth it, and he's worth a good life. And that went downhill probably in 2017 when I got that phone call when his father committed suicide.
And now for a quick PSA brought to you by Together We Can. Grief isn't limited to the loss of a loved one. For all the support you need, TWC offers a grief and loss support and education group offered free of charge. Learn more at twcrecovery.org. life.org.
Hey everyone, this is Ryan Bathgate from Kaleidoscope Wednesdays. I wanted to bring a public service announcement to you today about Narcan, or also known as naloxone. These kits have saved so many lives over the years. I can attest for that. Being in the industry for so long, I can tell you since we've had the opioid crisis declared in 2016, it has saved thousands of lives, and I've watched it personally save hundreds of lives. These kits are small, easy to use. You can keep them in your glove box or in a cupboard in your home, and you never know when somebody's going to need them. If you have a hard time finding a Narcan kit in your area, just email us here at ashes2awesomepodcast@gmail.com. Throw Narcan in the subject line, tell us where you are, and we'll do the legwork to find that for you. If you wanted to send me a question for my Kaleidoscope Wednesdays, again, email ashes2awesomepodcast@gmail.com. We will read that question on air, and I'll do my best to answer it in a comprehensive way. That's all I have for now. We'll go back to the show. Thanks for listening.
And the kid just kind of snapped, and he was working as a tradesperson, and he also had recovery and 2 kids. So, there's that story, and so letting him go, and when I see him, I would bring him some clothes and feed him and get him some runners, and last thing I say, don't sell your fucking runners.
Right.
But it was coming to him with love and compassion, and any type of phone call I would take, it was always keeping that line open, using my phone as a lifeline,
Yep.
as a lifeline,
100%.
because
Yep.
And so anyhow, that's the sad part about that. And you being here in Alberta, and and I've called and left some messages. I've left my number everywhere, and sometimes we find them, sometimes we don't. And however, I just keep praying for him, as going back to that.
Sorry, can you repeat his name again for me? My memory's bad that way. Terrence.
His name is Terrence, yeah.
So just lately, especially, most of our listeners are in the Vancouver area, right? Most of them, of course, aren't. People on the downtown east side aren't listening to the show. We know that, so I'm no false memory.
Yeah.
However, we do have some people now, especially now, and just the last couple of days.
Yeah.
We've had more people from downtown east side on the show. So possibly, if we got any new listeners or anybody, if you happen to know Terrence, drop us a message over here so we can get it back to Amanda.
That's the thing about connection and relationships and community, right?
Yeah.
Is being able to have those resources. And I think that, for myself, being able to have those resources to fall back on, right?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
However, so yeah, that's that a little bit. That was, but he came back in my life, and I got to be a parent and parents group. He was in treatment. Super grateful for the treatment facility that he was at. I was able to meet my granddaughters, and I was able to be a mom among moms. And I've never been a mom because I've been in my active addiction. I've been using,
right? Yeah.
So things like that over the years. But I think over the years I kept doing what I needed to do, and running was a way of getting well and staying well. And I went to school.
Running, do you mean like literally running?
Running, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Running.
You never know. On this show, running means all sorts of different things, so I have to qualify that, right?
Yeah. So I ran overdose awareness, like flatline the finish line. I raised a lot of money, and I would use my recovery in ways where to get back into areas that I was passionate about. I think also too, it was my living amends. I felt like I was indebted to society as being a taker my whole life. And I needed to start giving back. And so there was, and the financial things, and there's no way that I had to find monies to contribute to organizations, and those were my living amends. And that was like the value in the doing and finding purpose and sense of belonging. And next thing you know, there'd be like 100 of us running across the finish line, and having these experiences. So that was a little bit of my pathway of getting well, going to school. I was broke. I was 42. I burnt my life down to the ground. Whatever assets I did have at one time when I was married with my husband and traveling and all that, that went in my arm,
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I do. Yeah.
so, and I just think, the journey continues. So I got to do some really cool things with my life, and I still am. Like, I'm here in Alberta, and I believe in Recovery Capital. I believe in recovery. For me, it's abstinence. Yeah.
I got to ask, Recovery Capital. So
yeah.
when I very first spoke with you, you mentioned Recovery Capital, and that was months ago, right?
Yeah.
And I went down a bit of a rabbit hole with it, and I'm still not sure what the hell you're talking about. I got an idea, but maybe
I'm from New West and New Westminster, and I've had some really great leaders, mentors. I'm a woman that didn't go to treatment. I'm a woman that got clean on the street without any much resources, and I didn't know what I needed, didn't know what the left hand was doing from the right hand, and I ended up staying clean on my own, and it was rough. Because tough. The life skills, having some tools, how to self-regulate, how to have some social capital in my life. So I ended up coming into a community where I was building on my social capital, building on a foundation. I just earned a diploma in addictions. I just published my first writing with Dr. Allison Granger Brown and another woman called Mothers and Mothering in Sex Work for an epidemic. And so so I was starting to do these kind of things and to use my story in ways where I can help others, but I was recognized as an author because I wanted my anonymity, right?
Yeah.
Because, I don't know how my life is going to continue to unfold, but I was starting to build on positives. And so I had some women that was quite knowledgeable, that was in the profession. And also I had they were in professions, like they were professionals.
Okay. You see, you said sex work, you said there's something like profession. Okay, I'm just
which one?
Make sure we all understand what we're talking about. Okay,
the oldest profession there ever was. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Okay.
So I had this incredible group of women in my life, and started gaining awareness, like social awareness. So Recovery Capital to me is looking at the big, as a person as a whole. And I believe in sense of belonging, community, purpose, service work. And I think, these are the kind of things I was doing along the way, kind of stumbling along, because I was like a professional volunteer for about 4 years. I was unemployable. And I needed to build on my life skills, and I needed to build on my interactions with people and play well with people and learn to communicate and be assertive. And, after 30 years of an addiction, you kind of lose all that. You get to the instincts of like an animal, if you will.
Survival.
Yeah.
It's just survival.
Yeah. So, and how do I fit in? How do I look the world in the eye and be right with myself in the world and to be okay? And I'll be truly grateful for those women who are still in my life today. And so I also, over the years, being a continued learner and continuing my education and getting at tables like community action initiatives, overdose tables. I was on the front lines 2016, doing reversals, working at a clinic, working in treatment centers, men and women treatment centers, correction treatment centers, employment coaching. There is everything that I feel that my higher power or the universe has put me in to placement to build on all these skills. Because when I hit at the end of the road, I was a woman that was broke with no resources. The only reason why I had a disability is that the Dr. Eves wrote one for me when I was in prison, and I had nothing to fall back on. And how does anyone crawl out of hell and have right living and right action with integrity to get to a place of being self-supporting? And that was
tough,
my goal.
Right?
Yeah, without cutting corners. You got to remember, addiction wants to cut corners. It wants bare minimal. It wants half measures, and it wants you to, it wants to take your life. And for the first time in my life, I wanted some integrity, some self-esteem. And you can't cash in on that. If you cash in on that, if you start dipping your toes in the water of deception, you might as well go in head first. That's what I
Yeah.
say about that.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
so like just trusting in the process. And, here I am today, fully self-supporting. I have a fantastic contract and all that hard work. So when we start talking about mandate treatment, safe supply, harm reduction, naloxone training, or when I worked in occupational health and my clients were physicians and fire culture and policemen, and yet they have insurance companies that are giving them the best opportunities to go to treatment along with medical monitoring, You're right. And they have a chance of, recovering from the disease of addiction and whatever that looks like. I can't hear you. Like,
Sorry.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So we talk about recovery, and yet if there is private contracting, those folks are getting it. And then if there's like a working girl that's like with mental health, that's been incarcerated, that's an IV user, that's like has all these complex traumas, and we go on and on and on and on. And then there's a waiting list. And then you kind of look at this person on paper and you're wondering if there's a fit, but yet
Right.
it's life and death. And then also, I've served that community.
Mhm.
And I remember working with men and women in Abbotsford and having a role where I was a leadership role where I was running a shelter and using that recovery capital model, if you will, like sense of belonging, community, self-efficacy, food, making sure they don't live a secondhand life for 1 hour, even employing them for the day. So I have folks serving their own and creating a community among themselves where there was like sandwiches and harm reduction, and there was a boutique, and we ran a kitchen. We did everything homemade. And I remember, the best compliment I ever got was bringing recovery to harm reduction. I started laughing. I go, only if they could see this now. And, but at the same time, I would probably be one of the last women washing one of the working girl's feet and giving her a sandwich. And we did a Valentine's thing. And that night she died on the street with a needle in her arm. So it's kind of like, how do we show up in people's lives? How do we, give them opportunities where they can, have a better quality of life? And so I don't know, I moved into some of those areas because I wanted to be on the other side. Whereas for 30 years in my addiction, I was on this side writing out surveys for $50. Here, can we have your experience? And they still do that, all these surveys and honorariums and, things like that for research. And I thought, you know what, I got to move around here because I want to see what's really going on and how this money's allocated and who's doing what and what's up. And
So what have you kind of discovered that way then? Is anything kind of aha or right?
well, it's kind of baffling when
Okay.
I was like thinking what I thought the world looked like, and I started learning from behind the scenes. And
Yeah.
when we were writing grants and we're writing what to get the money for and how we move the money around, and I'm not an expert at that stuff, but I
Yeah.
definitely know that money can be used way better to help people. I think we
Ah,
can
right.
do better.
Bureaucracy is it's a money killer. It eats money, right?
Well,
Red tape does, and bureaucracy, and it's there's got to be a more efficient way than on almost everything the government does. But
Well, I think, when we talk about treatment beds and how funding is for treatment beds and how much they're given for treatment beds, and you think about the increase of food and gas and high cost living, and yet, I don't know. So, but I do know what my values are and what I stand for. And I made some decisions to support people, meet them where they're at. Doesn't mean I want to leave them there. And I don't think, moving away from the downtown east side, because I don't want to focus on that. But, as a population as a whole, doing surveys and the hidden population, like for trades, and having a big seminar where we brought in a treatment center and Fraser Health and BC Trades, and and 25 men with lived experience, and talking about the culture there, and how how the men need help, and the stigma, and all that. And so I had a partner. I had a husband that they both overdosed in the last 2 years, and Scott struggled with mental health and addiction. And I had to tell the boys while they were out in camp. And so, like when we talk about overdose, like impacts our community, our families, our friends, our children, like everybody is affected. And I don't know how to stand here and not be emotionally charged, and to know that be the change that you want to be, and being of service, and doing different things to collaborate, to bring people together, and to have peer engagement groups, smash stigma, and not have recovery and drug user groups, and then bring them together, because we're all cut from the same cloth. We're just not using. How do we influence other people? And so, like, that was really shitty. That that was the end of his life. And same with Dan 6-7 months ago, another great guy who I got to spend several years in his life. And there was times where things weren't working in our relationship, and because addiction is so powerful, like, I had to move out. So I have all these experiences about these relationships and disappointments and addiction. And then how do I keep protecting myself in recovery, and set boundaries, and pray for others? I've been praying for others for a long time. I've been praying for change for a long time. I've been trying to put myself in the areas where I want solution, and I keep persevering. I've hit lots of roadblocks, and I think, after a while I had to find a life worth living. And what did that look like? Because, like, I can't go down with the sinking ship. And that's what this disease is like, a sinking ship. It takes everybody down with you. And I also, too, I'm a mother. I'm a mother of a son who's on the downtown east side. And I'm not that mother that's ranting safe supply. Like, there's nothing safe about safe supply. That's my opinion. What I'm hearing from it, that it's just another way of currency and diversion. And, now our kids are getting a hold of hydromorph while they're being traded for more drugs, and then having this legalization. I find it really insane. I find it crazy. I'm a dope fiend. I want free dope. And I want to walk around with 3 grams and knowing that I'm not going to go to jail. I went to jail for 20 Rock, I think, for a long time, So this is like insane. But yet, try to get on a waiting list, go to treatment.
Yeah.
You got a surrender period. And people living in tents and struggling, and the violence and the crime. I don't know. I can't wrap my head around it. I don't want to wrap my head around it. I want better for people. I want better for our community. I want better for Vancouver, and I want better for BC. And I'll stand with that. And I've had people write me nasty messages. I don't run around and advocate abstinence. And I don't stand on my spiritual hilltop, with a moral or, hilltop, like thinking I'm better than, or I know the answers. But I'm an expert in my own life. So here I am, July 21st, being called to Kelowna, and my son is on life support. And again, our whole family is heartbroken. My son's 24 forever, and I'm the one that has to make a decision how to end his life because of a bad decision or something that he came across, and he's brain deaf. And so, so if you're not, and I wanted better for him, and he was struggling with mental health, and I was coaching him trying to get here, and he worked as an oil diamond driller, like a diamond driller, and he was 24. So, This is what I'm dealing with at hand right now. So when people have their ideas about different things, I'm super grateful that I'm part of the solution. I'm super grateful that I got to go and see my son and make those hard decisions and be a woman in recovery and walk with dignity and grace. And let me tell you, those people that taught me Recovery Capital, that social capital, the chosen family, my community, my people, all rolled up in Kelowna, driving in, getting hotels. My sisters rallied around me, and I got to be there for my son, and his last breath took mine away. And, and I will do whatever it takes as a person in recovery to carry the message of hope, and not settle and saying like, oh, you can't get well, or no, you have to be on opiates for life, or, oh, you better get on safe supply. This will keep you alive, or go to this OPS, or go to this fucking line. Yep. That's not what I want to talk to. And this is my own personal experience. I'm not here representing any other thing than, as a mother, as a woman that's been impacted, been grieving for the last 2 years, going to meetings, still helping people along the way, still doing what I need to do to keep well. And I keep showing up and suiting up for those who are less vulnerable than me, because that gives me purpose, and I'm super grateful to be here in Alberta. I'm super great. Yeah, when you asked me to share a little while ago, and my name was being dropped, I went, oh wow, here I am, not a hot minute in Alberta, and I'm already getting a phone call, and I thought, oh, that's exciting. So what I like about that, Chuck, is that people, how they talk about you behind your back, right?
Yeah,
so,
a lot different than it used to be, I'm sure. Right?
Oh, I'm sure they're still talking. Yeah, I just want to say to them that they haven't seen nothing yet. There's more to come.
There you go. When I first started the show, maybe 2 months into it, so we're just pretty new at the time. I got the one piece of hate mail that I've gotten since I started this, and it was anonymous. Sorry, I have no idea who it's from. Well, I've got an idea, but whatever. Yeah. And it was just this: they were speaking to things that had happened in my active addiction, some things that didn't happen, whatever. And I remember thinking, you don't even know me. You have no idea who you're talking to anymore. So I'm sorry you feel that way. And I said something in the following episode to, hey, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for whatever I did to you, but you don't even know who you're talking to anymore. So, I'm devoting my life and whatever. I'm trying to do better. So
I think we're all trying to do better. And I like that, you're talking to different people, having different conversations, and, I just feeling like very inspired that, I have this chance and opportunity to keep doing the things that I do. And, I just think about the women I did time with, and we published a book called Releasing Hope, and we did this other project called The Circle, and it went around the world. And we also did this installation of Midsummer Dream. Is that? Yeah. So there's all of us in tattoos. We're all like, about 200 years of federal time, and we're dressed like fairies. We're holding these poses, and it's in Tokyo, Japan right now. And
that's fantastic.
Just other ways of healing. So I've done lots of different things. That's, I guess, what I'm saying. And as outreach, and as in community, as in service, and then also for employment. And today, I'm an addictions counselor. I say I'm a recovery counselor now. I like that. Okay. I want to change it up. I'm a recovery counselor. And I feel that. And I'm also a person in long-term recovery. So when I'm on platforms like this, say long-term recovery, but I identify myself as an addict, as a recovering addict.
So there's an interesting thing I'll talk to you about now that you said that. I just want to jump on that. Mm-hmm. We did an entire episode about that very thing, about how long do you identify as, right? And do you ever get the right to graduate past I'm an addict and whatever. I thought it was a really interesting thing. If you go back and take a listen to it, I don't remember the number. Maybe I'll put it in the show notes. But
I think
it was really great.
I've had people telling me how I should identify when I did public platforms, and I go, you don't need to tell me how to identify. Like if you don't like the word, if you don't like the word addict, like that's you. I don't, right. I work with some people who go, well, I'm a person in recovery, or I'm a healing human being. I'm whatever.
I really liked survivor of addiction. I liked that one when I first heard that. Right?
If you want to be a survivor of addiction, you can be that as well. I feel I love the word addict. I
Own that, sister.
I've been many things in my life, and let me tell you, a recovering addict is the bomb. Like, I feel like I'm the ultimate weapon.
Certainly been called worse, right?
Well, and by better.
That's right. One of my lines. Yeah.
But that's the thing, though, is that I like. We talk about stigma and language matters and this and that, and if you're indifferent, like there's many ways of, like, there's well variety, there's NA, there's AA, there's smart recovery, there's secular meetings, there's life ring. There is so much. Like, go pick up
so
a
much
pair
more
of runners.
knowledgeable than I am. You just said like 10 words I don't know. So whatever.
Yeah,
Right?
but this is support groups, and I always encourage people, find your people, find your support group, build on your social capital, because you need other people in order to get well, and you can't always get well within the family. Right.
Yeah, that's true too, right?
You know, so
I know. I have an open policy about the right program is the one that works for you, right? That is the exact right one to use, right? Whatever works for you is the way to do it, right? And I, very vocal about that on the show. If nothing else.
And don't believe everything you hear. Like, don't believe that you can't get well. Don't believe that you have to be on opiates forever. Don't believe that this is because like this is the only life you're going to get. Like, don't cash in on a secondhand life. Like, I've been on the front lines. I've done it. I've been there. I've lived out there. I was on the street for a number of years. I've been marginalized, unsheltered. I've struggled. I've pounded the pavement for many days to years on end. So I'm not speaking like out my ass, like I haven't done that. I've done it all. And I think the thing is that, I love your ashes to awesome, because I feel like a phoenix. I feel like like more is to come, right?
Yeah, right.
So I know that, we've got lots of experiences. I remember when we talked about the circle, and I'm sitting with all these different women, and we talked about what went on in prison and how we felt, and, feeling small and feeling less than, and, the anxiety about what will our lives look like, and going back to what we've always known. And that's easy. That's gets familiar and it's comfortable. And recovery is not like that. It's not comfortable and it's not easy. And having people investing in you, and when you felt like you're damaged goods and no good and amount to nothing, and you have that narrative, and then when you change your story and change your life. And I'm super grateful for every opportunity that's brought me here. This last few years, losing loved ones who I didn't think I'd be able to live without. I find myself more charged and more into the direction of standing for what I believe in. And I'm grateful to be here in Alberta, because we're in the solution. And I believe that, recovery is contagious, and people can get well and stay well, and it's possible. And everyone has the right, everyone has the right. And it should be like available, just like, like, it should be available right now, right then and there. And I don't care how many times, if you got 2 feet and a heartbeat, and you jump back on and try to get a few days back to back. So that's the direction that I'm in these days. I believe in a community, the therapeutic value of helping people and get.
That's.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't even begin to tell you, Amanda. Well, of course, I don't have to tell you, but for myself, and this isn't my story, it's yours, right? But helping people is helping yourself 100% of the time. This is my recovery, right? This is what I do now.
And I love that. And I think we all have our gift, and you found yours, Chuck, and I found mine. And if we can share this message, and, and I saw a mother open up her book today on Facebook, and, her story about her journey with her son, and, her son overdosed. And, and I remember that day. Like, I've been around for a while, that I've seen a lot of things over the years, and a lot of people watch my life, and I watch their life. And, and I remember, like, my son's journey is going to continue, like the silver lining is that, like, he became a donor with his organs, and he was a hero that night, and he gave other people second chance, and I got to, be there. And so I know that there's going to be an opportunity. I'll be able to share his story and who he is at that time. And right now I'm doing what I need to do. I'm going to work. I'm showing up for opportunities like this. I'm showing up for my other son, Jeremy. That was his brother. That was his best friend, his wife and son. I have a grandson, I have a sister, his cousins, his grandma, his sister, and it was heartbreaking. And it's like, it's still so new. I think I'm still kind of numb, but I came back and I have a great community to fall back on. And I know I'm not finished yet. And I know I have a lot more to say and speak to, Chuck.
Do you ever not have more to say, though? I mean that in a good way, but I get the impression that,
Oh, I do.
Remember that time you stopped having something to say? Me neither. I don't remember that.
I don't know. I disturb the comfort the disturbed. I just said to my girlfriend the other day, I said, I don't think you can hurt my feelings. And you know what?
Yeah.
Like, I got a really good life.
Yeah.
And living in my values and my values and my mission and my employer and what we do and what we do together. My values align with their values and the ideas of how to help people in recovery. And that includes, having the right team doing, and everybody is like amazing at what they do. And they're experts. Like if you can get the right environment with the right people, with the right program, there is no way why someone can't get well.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
No, I believe that. 100% I believe that. Yeah.
And having everyone that's an expert in their area to be like a spoke in the wheel. And I believe in that. I believe that we look at people as a human being, and it's a whole human being, emotionally, physically, spiritually, socially. And I don't want to sign off. I look at Vancouver Dying, and I have my little hot moment in there. I've done things with Dr. Gabor Mate, and I was really humbled to speak to like trauma and incarceration with him and Dr. Elgin Granger Brown, and had some amazing people where I got to speak at Recovery Capital, and amazing women that mentored me, like Mary and Jessica, and there's so many other women, Louise. There's men, Dave Pavlis, there's Dr. Paul Sobey. There's so many people who have come into my life over the years. Jane Derry, she's a woman to speak to. She's in Panama right now, the big treatment center out there. Yeah. Yeah. And there's lots of other people that helped me along the way. And I remember going to school, and this woman, I'm still wearing a baseball hat, she goes, Amanda, why are you always wearing a hat? And I said, because I got no shampoo. But I was so grateful that I had this little disability where I was paying $500 room and board, and $400 for my student loan, and $50 for my bus, and $50 for my phone. I thought I was living my best life, getting the bus, going to school. And I was like 44. And I remember on my birthday, I think she got me shampoo and toiletries that lasted me for a year. And Joanne, those are my humble beginnings.
Yeah.
Those are like those were my humble beginnings. And, going to a few meetings and trying to find my way. And I got to put my life up for review many times. And I got to get right with my kids, and I get to pray for my kids, and I got to experience love and recovery, and I got to experience death and loss and grief, and I get to experience celebration, weddings and babies and things. Like, life is amazing. There is
it's totally a new appreciation that I feel people that haven't struggled the way that you have or I have,
Yeah.
we'll just never appreciate some of the things that we do. Right. Our baseline has moved now. You know, it's our sense of humor baseline has moved. That's for damn sure. Right. Because you can laugh at some weird shit now, but more than that, though, what you would learn to appreciate.
Yeah. And I think Emma Akers, Sherry Flett, Sharon Glenn Flett, and she's still alive, but Glenn's passed on. He was a lifer, and the garden and mission and restorative, like where we got to, work with, folks that are still incarcerated, and I got to garden there, and then I got to move on into a men's treatment center for like 10 years, being part of the farm to table and growing and working with people. There's many ways to cultivate people for change, and if it's gardening, it's running, if it's facilitating, I think it's like how you live your life too, and inspire others and take the time for others. And and I've done that. I remember doing that with another woman. When my heart went into that overdose initiative in 2017 and 18, and really wanted to make some changes, because that's 2016 when all that was, announced. We're having a health crisis here, an overdose epidemic, and and I really wanted, and I put a lot of effort into those tables and into those projects and into those community groups and creating opportunities, and I wanted change. I wanted to stop the dying and inspire people to live. And it just seems like 36 to 37,000 people later, I feel like, and then just in my own personal life. And so, yeah, if I got some opinions, fucking rights I do.
They're earned. They sound like they're earned. Yeah. Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'm okay with it. And I have to remember it's what I can live with. And if there is an opportunity, because I don't want willful arrogance, I can be humbled, but like people go on about harm reduction. I go, yeah, okay, brushing your teeth is harm reduction. Putting on a seatbelt is harm reduction. I remember what the purpose was. It's prevention from AIDS and HIV, not a license to go use.
Right. Yeah, certainly. It has changed a lot. And, we were speaking last night, and I meant to bring that point into it today, and I totally forgot when I was recording that episode about harm reduction, and the different sides of it. I regret that now. I should have, because what you had said about, this is what harm reduction started as, and here's what it's grown into, are very different things, right? Well, very different things. Right?
It's only because I was out on the streets in the 80s and 90s, and I never went to an OPS. My generation,
I'm sorry, what is an OPS? You've said that a few times.
An overdose prevention site. And
okay.
And with this time, there weren't. We need all services. I'm not going to disregard that. If it keeps my son safe in downtown East Side, and a place to go to, and a place where I can go and write my name and a number, so be it. Do I want my kid to live there? No. Do I want my kid to have a better quality of life? Yes. So, and with what's going on, but is that the answer? Is it?
No, it's not.
Is it though?
I don't think it is. I don't think so. But I think personally, and my views on, and again, I've said this before, I try and keep Switzerland. I think most of the harm reduction aspects have a place, but that's not the answer. Right?
Well, it was interesting. Okay, so this is it. I was thinking, okay, because my time in the 80s and 90s, we had these shooting galleries and we had crack shacks, and I'm just like, it's kind of like the same thing, but the government just calling them safe places.
Right. I guess so.
I don't know. That could be my sassiness coming out. But those were my environments growing up. Like I said, things have changed. I haven't used in a long time. I'm aware of what's going on, and I'm feeling it firsthand, but I also know that I'm a woman in recovery. I'm still continuing to feel the hits of addiction and how it impacts the family. I'm still processing and learning and growing and changing. Professionally, I'm very grateful that I have the team that I do that can support me and stand by me. I'm really grateful that I have the family of friends. I have friends who are my family. I love my sister. I'll be super grateful for her because she found me back in 2011. I don't know how she did that, and it gave me an opportunity to call her. And I came home, and I came home to myself. So, am I still praying? Yeah. Am I still standing? Yeah. Do I still have an attitude? Yes. and
all earned. Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
But I think
Right.
we just need to be truth tellers of our own stories, and I'm not going to sit on the fence. I'm not going to sit on the fence. I want better, and I think we can do better. And I feel that there's some amazing people in government right now who I totally respect, and I trust them, and I trust what they do and say, and that gives me hope.
Yeah. I know when we do finally get the news releases that everybody's waiting for right now, right? When it does come out, then I know you and I are going to get back together after that, because I want to talk to you very much after that.
I'm just sensitive, right? And I don't want to speak too more of that. That's just like, it's not my place, and I'm trusted servant in what I do and how I do things.
Absolutely, right? Yeah, I would never ask you to preach any sort of confidence.
No,
right?
I'm not going to, and that's not what you're saying.
Yeah, it's not the first place where I've heard Kat talk about that right now either. So, right, and that it's going to be a big deal when it happens, and I'm definitely going to invite you back on when that happens, right? So,
I just feel that once it's announced in the way that it's supposed to be announced, it's going to be amazing, and I can't wait to be part of that. And I am part of something that I'm super grateful for. So I guess my prayers have been answered. I guess I did okay for a junkie. I guess I'm doing okay.
We don't use it. Well, you're allowed to use a junkie word, but
no. But that's the thing. That's the thing. That's the thing. One's a junkie, always a junkie. No, that's not true.
No,
like we do recover, and the lie is dead. And I think that needs to be, instead of looking at the words addict and junkie and safe supply and clean and dirty and whatever, it's just like, enough's enough. Like, I'm so over it. You want to sit at the table and start having debates on words while people are still dying? Like, I don't have time for that. And this is it. I'm the expert in my own life. And people go, oh, it's stigmatizing, and people make like, you know what? Maybe if we started normalizing it and letting language be and be all right. And because like now you're telling me how to identify myself. Now people are telling me how to speak. Now people are telling, I was just like, you know what? I've heard that my whole life. Amanda, go put some lipstick on and change your clothes, and everything is fine. Like if you act a certain way, if you talk a certain way, if you do this a certain way, you'll be socially acceptable. So like after what I'm seeing, like downtown Vancouver, and you're more concerned about me saying the word junkie, go take a look on the streets of downtown, and then come and challenge me with that. That's what I have to say to that.
Wow. Okay. Right. When I say that, I mean, I don't like people using the term junkie to describe people. You know what I mean? I just don't.
No.
You've earned the right to call yourself one or not, right?
Yeah.
And I have too, for that matter. But
that's my disturbing the comfort, Chuck. I'm not at you. I'm disturbing the comfort, because like I think how I identify and show up and get in line today is it's language does matter, and I feel that not contradicting myself, but when I go to work and I hold a standard of professionalism, and but when I get to be myself and I get to be on a platform like this, I get to allow you to let me be who I am. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Anything else would just be no fun, right? Right. Yeah. So I feel like fun is something you are more often than not, anyway.
I am.
Right? I'll believe that.
I'm a lot of fun.
Yeah.
This was fun.
It absolutely was, and I think there's so much more conversation to have. So something I've never said on air before, only to people individually, but when I first have a guest on, I like to have them on with just me. And then we get the weekend ramble thing where it's a panel, and I love the panels. But I always like to get somebody first on. It's just a one-on-one to kind of feel you out a little bit, right? And see what you're all about, and then kind of bring somebody in for a panel discussion.
I think
and those are great. And I think you'd be wonderful.
We've been doing that for a few months now. You're watching me, right? I'm watching you.
But yeah, just because not so much because I want to censor what happens on one, but because I like to construct the dynamic. Because I want this person and that type of person in the same panel. Or, you know what I mean? Like it's not so much about censorship as it is.
I've had panel conversations, and I've sat with some amazing people that had many different perspectives. I've also, I think that, I can share with you some amazing people that can share their stories and how they use their lives. And
right.
And, and I'm really passionate about Overdose International Day. Like I've done lots of things. I've done lots of things personally over the years for the community to have safe places for people to come and mourn their loved ones, and create gardens and food trucks, and elders come in with smudge and prayers and resources, and have a community use their voices. And I've always been about others centered. I've always been thinking of community as a whole. And, and I think too, is that the more that I recover out loud and I'm transparent and I share my story, I share all of it, and take what you want, leave the rest. If you identify, that's great. If it helps you, I'm happy to know that. If it doesn't, that's okay, because your story will be told. It just wasn't mine,
Yeah, right. So, I think that brings us to my favorite part of the show. That's the Daily Gratitudes. Today's Daily Gratitudes are brought to you by Revolution Recovery, helping men recover and become their best selves through support and treatment. They've been there and they understand. Edit. Okay. Okay. Sorry. I say that so I can search transcripts for this part where I can cut it in. So, when I do have a guest on the show, I like to get some daily gratitudes from you. What you got?
Well, I had a chicken on my shoulder today.
A chicken, like an alive cluck chicken?
Yeah. It was a silky.
Okay.
So I was with, met two other women, and I had a chicken on my shoulder, so I felt like I was initiated in Alberta. Besides the horse, I went on a horseback. I got on a horse a couple months ago, and Lloydminster, so I felt like a cowboy. I felt like I even had my shirt on. So what are my gratitudes? I think my gratitudes is that I'm really grateful that I have a program of recovery in my life. That I have a pathway that I can call my own and stand for and believe in it. I'm really grateful that I have people that love me. I'm really grateful that I could show up for my children for the worst of times and for the best of times. I'm really grateful that I can have choice in my life, that I can use my voice. And I think I'm really grateful to be here in Alberta, because I was told that there was Alberta gods out here.
I don't know about that, but
Oh, I believe it. Those big skies and open highways, and I'm extremely grateful for having you to ask me to be on your show today, and thank you for being patient with me in the last couple months.
No. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I'm super excited to see what the future holds and what that looks like. And I do know that I'll be holding space for everyone that's lost their loved ones on August 31st. And
I think you and I'd like to talk to you some more about August 31st, actually, as we're getting there. I'm still not sure what we're doing, but we're doing something, because you can't not, right?
There's many ways of doing things. I've done lots of things in community, or I participate with others. There will definitely be... I will definitely be keeping lots of friends over the years, and folks that I've worked with over the years in my heart. And this year I'll definitely be holding Michael Stoller and Daniel Morin and Scott Stoller in memory. And I want my life going forward that no one, 36,000 people haven't died for a reason. There's got to be a catalyst of change, and I'm here to support the Alberta model, and I'm really grateful that I get to be part of this. It's the solution. It's recovery capital. It's recovery-oriented systems of care.
For myself, I'll do the final gratitude for the day is to the listeners. You guys, whatever you're doing, please keep doing it. So if you're on spot, you know what, I'm not going to say all the things. If you see our logo somewhere, drop a comment, do a share, do a like. I'm not going to list them all off for you this time. I do that a lot. Because every time you do any one of those things, you're getting me a little bit closer to living my best life. My best life is to make a humble living spreading the message. The message is this: if you're in active addiction right now, today could be the day. Today could be the day that you start that lifelong journey. Reach out to a friend, reach out to a family member, call in a detox, go to a meeting, do whatever the hell you got to do to get that journey started, because it is so much better than the alternative. And if you are the loved one of somebody who's suffering an addiction right now, you're just taking the time to listen to our conversation. You just take one more minute out of your day, text that person, let them know they're loved. Use the words.
Oh, you are loved.
That little glimmer of hope just might be the thing that brings them back.
body's getting cold, my life is running low. Feel me falling, my life is running out. I pray I make it now, but if I don't, it will be okay. I'll find you another day, and I'm not scared to go. It will be okay. I'll find you another way, and I'm not scared to go, because when I die, I'll be happier in another life. I'll be a ladybug soaring through the sky. Please search for me, please find me. So please don't cry when I land on your arm. Spread my wings and fly.